This is Fusion 360. This is the screen I was hoping to show you a few minutes ago. So this is autodesk.co.uk. It is a free download. If you download the free trial, you can actually extend that for educational purposes. So it is completely free for education and for startups, I believe, as well, new startups, businesses. So
yes, for personal use and for startups, you get a year subscription, but I'll share the links with you guys at the end of the session.
Yeah. So this is Fusion 360. And I know some of you have used Rhino before. This is a completely, it's not completely different actually. And I always think that CAD, before I go any further, is very much like going into a supermarket. Rhino, which I know some of you have used, you've got SolidWorks is very popular. We also have AutoCAD, of course, and Fusion 360. Rather like walking into a supermarket, we know all of the fruit and veg is usually on the left, all the booze is on the right, and the kind of cleaning materials are in the middle, because that's how things are set out. CAD is very much the same. And you'll find that you'll usually start on the top left and work along. And what you normally have are ways and means of creating sketches first. And after that, ways of making those sketches into solids. And after that, in Rhino, it's called transform, how to change those solids and edit it. So if you want to make more of them, or if you want to scale it up and down, or if you want to round corners off, that will be on that transform part. Now, in this case, we've got create on the top here, and the top one on the left is sketch, and you can see create sketch, and then we have ways of actually extruding into 3D. And as we move across, and this is what I call the first aisle of my supermarket, all of my initial things I need will be in that first aisle. Once I've actually done that and created my forms, there's this next aisle here with all the modifications, all the things to change it. So you can see scale is there. Shell, so if you want to hollow something, that's there as well. Combine, fillet, which is rounding corners. So all of that is in the next one along. So in a way, I don't know where anything is in CAD. My background is as a craftsman. I was a glassblower for 30 years, and I'm dyslexic, so I find it hard to take in information. But what I've learned is that you don't necessarily need to learn CAD. You need to learn how to navigate to what you want to do. And sketching will always be in the top left part of your CAD software. So I'm going to go up to the top here, and you can see it says create sketch. And also, if you click on create, you can see create sketch there. Because what they tend to do is they put shortcuts on the top. So if you just go to the first aisle, you can see create sketch. I'm just going to left click on that. And what you get, and it's really nice this, you get your axis. And these things are really important. When we design a piece of CAD work, we design around the axis. It's very important so we can, if we put a hole through the center, we can be sure it's in the center line if we design around these three lines. A really simplistic way is looking at those things you have at the fun fair. We have the grabber that gets the toys. You press a button, it goes that way to that way. That's your x-axis, side to side. Press another button, it goes into the box or out of the box, whatever. And that's your y-axis going away from you. So we have x and y. And then we have the grabber itself that comes down. That's our z-axis. Now what we see here is our z-axis is the blue one. Our y-axis and our y and x-axis are on the bottom there. Okay, so we have these different axes here, but the top one here, that's your z height. What it's asking you to do with this, by the way, is it's asking you which plane do you actually want to draw on. I can draw on the bottom plane there, I can draw on the side one or this side one. So I'm just going to click left click on that plane there. And we're using a PC, by the way, so I've got left and right click. And that's actually offered up that plane for me. But this line down the middle is very important. This is my axis going down and another axis going across here. So I'm actually going to draw on here. I know straight away that all my lines are going to be on the left. I'm going to go to the top And it's like reading a book. Go to the top and read and work along. So this is a line here. I'm going to left click on it. And you can see it's actually snapping onto the grid behind as well. So I can go into the center and just left click and move. Now I can either left click again when I want to stop, or you can see that blue field in the middle there. It says 45 at the moment. So I'm just going to type in 30. Enter. So I've just drawn a line now that's 30 millimeters across there. So, and that's actually along the axis here, the X, Y axis. So what I'm going to do now is draw another line from the bottom here and go straight up. I'm going to go 75. I'm going to click it there. So there's my second line. I can continue to come out as well, or I can click the little tick there to finish. I'm just going to bring another one out to about 20 and left click again. And I'm going to tick the little arrow there to say I've finished my line so far. So we've got a line here, here, and here. I'm going to put another line from here out and then back to the center there. Now I've just closed my lines there. And as you can see, the actual area within my lines has turned blue, and that's confirming to me that we have actually got a closed line, which is what we're going to need if we want to make a three-dimensional object. So just to put it simply, what we've done here, we've just created a sketch, very simple sketch there. And as you can see at the top right is finished sketch. I'm going to left click on that, and that's finished my sketch. Notice also down here at the bottom, the little sketch thing has become active here. So what I've got now is this plane. Now there are two things we can do with this very quickly to make a solid. We can extrude it, which is basically just stretching it out in one dimension, or we can revolve it. We're going to do two things. We're going to do both actually. Can you see after sketch up here, the next one along is extrude. So that's actually kind of going to take the plane that we've just created and stretch it up into a solid. So I'm going to left click on that extrude. And what we should get is a box down here. Now these boxes are really quite intuitive. It's almost like it gives you a form to fill out as you go down, like a questionnaire almost. It's saying the profile is selected already, which is true. What I can do is just grab that and pull with my left click. Or I could actually go down and look at, there's a blue kind of millimeter here that's live. You can see it's live because it's blue. So I'm just going to type in 60. And that's a 60 millimeter extrusion. We can also play around with this one side here. If the direction is one-sided, I could go to symmetric and it will go 60 both ways, which is quite handy considering we're actually designing around our axis, remember? I can put our origin back on here. So there's our origins. And turn that back off again.
Just interrupting you here. We've got a question from Gary asking why some lines are black and other ones are blue on your design.
Black or blue. Oh, the black lines, I think, were probably the measurement lines. They're called constraints and dimensions. I think that would probably what you would have seen. The blue line that we've created is what we've drawn. The black line is probably the dimensions from it. I'm pretty sure that would be the case anyway.
And I guess when you've got solid, the lines become blue, whereas when it's just one line off, it will remain black.
What we can do actually, and this is quite a nice thing about this, I'm going to click OK to accept that. That's solid. Okay. We can actually look down at the bottom here. We've got our solid here. We could have got a sketch here. I can right click on the sketch or click on the sketch there. And I can edit my sketch and it will go back to our drawing. So there is a line here. If I double click on it, you can see it's all blue. Not quite sure why that one is black, but I would imagine it's because we've actually got our dimensions here. You can see there's a black dimension there. There's a black line from there to there, which tells me that I look dimension. We've also got a dimension, I think, running this way. These are constraints, these little things in here. They don't actually have part of the, they're not part of our design, let's say. They're kind of just information within the sketch. So that's your answer really, is that the black lines are information and the blue line is the line that we've actually created. So I'm going to finish my sketch there and we've got our first solid. Okay. Now, on the left-hand side, I should say, by the way, I should say before we go any further, this box up here is our navigation box. If I left click and move, that's how I'm actually turning, navigating around. If I use the wheel on my mouse, I can go out and I can move my cursor and I can then kind of move around, as you can see. So I can control everything from this navigation box and the wheel on my mouse to be able to move things around. That's our first object. On the left-hand side, what we see is a series of folders here, and it's almost like you can tidy things up. We've actually got a body here. We can just open that up and enlarge it, and this is our object, body 1. I can hide that body as well and put it back on again. So there's a little eye there. We can turn it on and off, like so. Let's make another body. I'm going to hide that. I'm going to go back to my sketch. I'm going to edit my sketch again. Actually, I don't think we need to, actually. Let's go and open our sketches here. We can turn our sketch on there. So now we can see our sketch. Again, I'll turn that off and on. Again, on the left-hand side here, it seems a bit complicated, but if you just imagine it as a series of folders that we can put all our information away and hide it, or we can take it out again. I find it really quite useful when we're looking for objects. I'm going to do a slightly different three-dimensional form now. I'm going to create a slightly different three-dimensional form. And this one is going to be revolve. I'm going to revolve this shape around the axis. If I just take my sketch off and just show you the axis again, this blue line here is our Z height axis here. That's what I'm going to revolve our drawing around. If I bring our drawing in now, you can see that it's actually in relation to those axes. This is why I said it was quite important. So what I'm going to do is highlight that sketch, the plane inside the sketch, I should say, and then I'm going to go to not sketch or extrude, which we just used, the next one along, which is revolve. I'm going to left click on that, and we get this box appeared. So the profile is already selected, one selected, which is that one. I'm going to reselect it actually. The axis now it's asking us for is actually the blue one here. So I'm going to left click on that, and it immediately revolves our sketch around that central axis. And you can see how it is quite important to get the sketch in line with that Z-axis in the middle here. Otherwise, there'd be a hole in the middle, or it wouldn't be accurate. So what I'm going to do is click OK.
Just another question, Ian. We've got Kathleen asking, how do you highlight your sketch? So I guess, is it by clicking on the actual design?
Yeah, what I did, I can actually go back and do it again, but what I did is I actually highlighted. If we Control Z, we should actually go out of that, and I'll do it again. This is our sketch, you can see. I can click and highlight that. Or I can go into the center, and you can see it kind of changes. I left click on that, and I've just now highlighted the whole sketch, what's inside that sketch. Yep. So the answer is I've gone inside the lines and left clicked. That's how I've actually selected it. Then go to rotate. The axis it's asking me to select now, which is this one, and it immediately gives me the object. Okay. Now you can still see the sketch and we can still see the body. I can turn my sketch off, and of course I can also turn the body off. But we've also got two bodies. We've got this one and this one. This is what I like about Fusion. I can just ignore that first one, or we can put them in together and we can join them. I'm not going to do that just now. What I'm going to do is turn the first one off, and then I'm going to show you modify. We've just created something, and in any piece of CAD it's always the same. You do a sketch first, you make a three-dimensional object from that sketch. Let's go to modify and see what we've got here. I'm going to hollow this out to make a vessel. I don't know where the actual command is, so I'm just going to run down. It's like going to the supermarket, as I say. I'm running down. I've looked at the modify aisle. I'm going down there now, looking for a means to actually shell. It's the same as hollow is shell. So I'm going to left click on that, and we'll get this same kind of command system. So we work our way down. It's asking to select the face or body. So I'm going to select the top. Now what it's given me is a field there, which I can just type in 5. That's given me a 5 millimeter thickness and shelling the whole thing to 5 millimeters. Let's change that to 1. Now what I've got is a 1 millimeter thickness, and we've shelled the whole thing like so. I'm going to go back. I'll make that 2 now, and I'm going to say OK. So what we've got there as we turn around, we've actually got an open top there. We've actually hollowed the whole thing out. A couple more commands that we've got on modify. One of the most popular ones, I think, is fillet. And fillet will just round. We've got some very sharp edges here. We can round those edges off. So I'm going to select fillet. And all I have to do now is select the edges that I'd like to fillet. I've got an inside and an outside there. If we zoom in, I'll just do the top 2, and we'll select, say, 1 millimeter. And that's rounded off the end quite nicely as we go around. Now, I've selected 1 on purpose. I couldn't do 2 because it's only 2 millimeters thick. So there we have a 1 millimeter edge. Click OK and accepted it, and that's rounded that edge up quite nicely. We can round off the bottom part as well over here. Bear in mind, it's only 2 millimeters thick, so I couldn't put more than a 1 millimeter bevel on that either. So let's just put a bevel on the bottom there. So I'm just going to go back to fillet. The bottom part there, I'm going to type in 1. And let's try 2. Okay there. And there you have it. So there's our second vessel there, really quite quick and easy to do. So they're the kind of basic functions of CAD, I think. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to save this and take it out onto my desktop and show you, remember I said there's CAD and CAM? CAM is going to be our 3D printer, CAD is our design, and in the middle is a bit of software that will translate it. So in order to get it into that software, we're going to have to obviously save this and export it. So what we do is we go to body 2 over here and right click. And as we drop down and go through here, we can see save as STL. STL stands for stereolithography. And it's rather like a 3-dimensional version of a JPEG. You imagine a JPEG will open in anything. It's a kind of most popular file for photographs, let's say. A STL is one of the most popular files for 3D objects, and that will definitely go to a 3D printer or a milling machine or any 3-dimensional machine. So I'm going to click Save as STL. And of course, we see refinement here. We're going to keep it as high and click OK. And it's asking me where to put it. So I'm going to call it, let's call it test. I'm going to call it test 2 because we've got a test 1 on the desktop already. And I'm going to save that as an STL. So that should be saved now. I'm just going to go onto my desktop now and just have a quick look, quick peek now, to see if there's test 2. That's fantastic. So what I'm going to do now is open up Cura. Just type in CUR and double click on that. This may take a bit of time to open up. And as you remember, we've got CAD CAM. CAD is our design, our STL we've saved it as actually. And CAM is our 3D printer, the Ultimaker that we saw in the slide earlier on. And this is a virtual representation of our 3D printer. I'm just checking now, we can see there's a nozzle here at 0.6. We can have different nozzle sizes, which give us different finishes. And once I'm happy with this, I can now just go and import my design into this piece of software. This is free as well. It's Cura. You can download it completely free. What it's going to do is going to take our model and slice it automatically and work out all the G-code, all the information required for the machine to be able to make our object. And if you're looking for how to go from here, go to the top left as if you're reading a book. Any bit of software you open, it's designed so you go right to the top to File there, and a left click on it, and we're going to go to Open. Next one down there. And we're looking for our test 2, and there it is. I'm going to open that now. And there it is. There's our object straight in. It's not been sliced yet because we have to prepare it. So what I'm going to do is go from solid view here to layer view, and I'm just going to go and click prepare down at the bottom here. And it's slicing, as you can see, and now it's done. That's amazing when you think about it. It's actually sliced it to 374 separate layers, and it's also worked out the movement of the 3D printer to be able to print each of those separate lines. We can go all the way down if we drag this down now to the bottom to our first line, and zoom in a bit here. So this is our first, shouldn't have moved that, Control Z out. I have to prepare that again because I moved it by mistake. There we have it. So this is our first layer. It's going to print a raft first to stick it to the bed. And as we zoom in now, you can see the lines it's actually going to take. It's going to move forwards and backwards. And that's our first layer that's going to go onto the bed. The bed will now go down 0.25 millimeters. And then layer 2 is put on. And this is going to jump straight past, and 3, 4, 5. And you can see the base is solid at the moment because we've got that 2 millimeter base. As we work our way up, look what happens. There's the wall thickness. And it will continue to work. That's layer 132. It will continue to print until it comes to the top there. And we can also see down the bottom here, it's going to take 6 hours and 3 minutes to print. And we can simply save to file. And basically what we do is we save it onto an SD card, which goes straight into the machine. We click on our file, which is called UM2E test 2, which will be on our card, and simply press print, and the machine does the rest. So in actual fact, this little software in the middle here, this is the most important one, really. We've got our design. We then bring our design into this bit of software called Cura. Cura will slice it, translate it into all the information required for the machine, and all we do then is save it onto the SD card, which gets pushed into the 3D printer, and you press print, and it just prints it itself automatically. So that's the basics of CAD-CAM, an introduction into Fusion 360, and also an introduction into the free software which will convert our design ready for 3D printing. I've got a few objects here that I can show you that have been 3D printed. This has been 3D printed in the same way on our PLA machine. I showed you the coffee mug, and I think we'll probably make one of these in a second. So I'm just going to check I haven't missed anything out. Just want to show you a few things that we've actually made here. If I just take that out. Over here, I've just got some examples I'd like to show. Hopefully you can still see that. These little things here are really handy. They're free downloads, and you can get these downloads and many, many more, including the shoe that you can see here, and much more complex designs as well, from a free resource called Thingiverse. It's online, and I think I've probably got it here. There we go, there's Thingiverse. It's just thingiverse.com. If you do a search, it's amazing how many three-dimensional objects are already there, ready for someone to download. And what our students do sometimes is they'll download a print and then adapt it and change it, and kind of use it in a much more creative way, let's say. So free downloads there as well. Close that up. So these little objects here have been downloaded from Thingiverse, and they're really good to test our machine to make sure the machine's working well. So that's the most simple type of 3D print. We can 3D print more elaborate pieces, and of course with the name towards sustainability, it's a fabulous thing to be able to play around with. Here are the shoes and the lights that we've created. Obviously we can make our own PPE, and just one more thing I'd like to show you before, and this is probably the best thing I've ever done. Again, open source format. There's a little girl, she was 4 years old, and she was about to have her toes amputated to be stitched on to what was left of, or what she had of part of her hand. All she had was a wrist and part of her hand. And again, this was about 7 years ago, actually, when we first started the Fab Lab. And I'd heard about a company called Enable over in America, and they'd created these prosthetics. And it's basically elasticated. It's always open, and if you bend the wrist, it puts tension on strings underneath, and what happens is, as you bend the wrist, the fingers come down and the thumb comes in. It's a rudimentary grip. So I printed one of these for this little girl. She wanted it in pink. I scanned her hand so that I could actually scale down the design, and in doing so, all the holes disappeared, so I had to drill all the holes out again. And I think, as I say, to watch somebody, a little girl, pick something up for the first time, is possibly one of the best things we've ever done. So for medical situations, we can have 3D printing, we can all sorts of applications. I think I'll probably leave that at that, because I think we're running out of time. So what I'd like to do is maybe show a couple of renders first. I'm just going to go back into Fusion. And the lovely thing about Fusion, if I just close that, we don't need to save it. This is a rendered view of the birdhouse. So what we can do is we can, even with 2D objects, we can create the thickness, and we can put backgrounds, and we can give it a little, put materials on it and so on. And also I've got the design that we had here. There's a slight variation of it. And I've just given it wood, a little plastic top there. Now I'd like to show you why I think Fusion 360 is incredible. This isn't using the processing power of my laptop. It's actually cloud-based. And it's a wonderful thing, that, because it means that you've got so much more power. There's so much more speed and applications we can use in this free bit software, because it's actually using the supercomputer in the cloud rather than, as I say, our tired old laptops. The wonderful thing about this is it's so powerful that I can go right back to my original sketch. And as we know, we can right click and we can edit our sketch. And I'm just going to change my sketch ever so slightly and bring it out. Maybe bring it down a bit further there. So change the shape slightly and finish our sketch. This will take a bit of time to process, even using the supercomputer. But look at that. It's actually gone right back to the original drawing and added all of the design inputs that we put together and changed our design. Isn't that incredible? And really, when you're thinking about variations of a design and you want to show people that, just in the space of minutes, I can save this one. I can even make a film of it. I can then go back in here. I can go and edit my sketch again, and we'll put it back to where it was, a little bit higher there, finish our sketch. Another variation, slight movement in our sketch will make massive changes to our three-dimensional object. And I find that, I think, one of the most shockingly amazing things about Fusion 360, the fact that it's completely free and it has that kind of processing power. So what I'm going to do now, I think, is we want to have a demo of a three-dimensional object. I've got very little time to do this, but I'm going to make a coffee cup. So I'm going to open a new design here. I'm going to quickly go to create a sketch. I'm going to go from the side there. Very quickly going to look at my coffee cup here, and I can see it's about 100 millimeters high. So that's a really good start, 100 millimeters high. So I'm just going to start my sketch. From the bottom, I'm going to go 100 millimeters. I'm going to go out, let's say 45. We can make it 40. That's great. And I'm going to finish that sketch there, and I'm going to go down to the bottom, and I'm going to go out again, 40, left click, and click OK. Now again, I'm going to go for a slightly different kind of line now. I'm going to go for spline. This is a curve, basically. Every time I actually click a point here, I should get another curve, and I can click that. I'm not very happy with that. It looks a little bit. Come back from there, Control Z. Looks a little bit bulky. So I'm going to finish that sketch. And I think I can grab that and move it. That's a little bit nicer, isn't it? A little bit more. Bring that in slightly. Bring this one in slightly, so it's not quite so much. Maybe to about there. That's got quite a nice mark there. Okay, so we know we can make that into revolve that into a solid. I'm going to do just that. I'm going to go to the Revolve icon there. The profile is this one. The axis is this one here. See if that's worked. I'm going to cancel that actually and do that again. Just looking at there, so I can highlight that first. Let's go, instead of going straight to that one, I'm going to go to Revolve there. Okay, so the profile is selected, the axis is this one here, and there you have it. That's great. That's got into 3D. Let's have a quick look at it. It's a little bit short and squat. I'm probably going to cheat a little bit there. I'm going to click OK. Let's actually take the top here and just grab it. And I've gone to Extrude, by the way. I've just selected the top, and I can lift that up, and I can just make it a little bit higher. And it says join there, so I'm going to click OK. So I've actually extended my object there. Just open our bodies. That's body one, that's great. It's still a bit bulky for my liking, to be honest. So I think what I might do is go back to my sketch here. I'm going to edit that sketch. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually bring that in. So it's really quite subtle there, and finish my sketch, and there you have that kind of shape there. Now we know very well that we can hollow this out very quickly, so I'm going to go to modify in the shell. I'm going to select the face there. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to cancel that, because what I want to do is take my bevels and put the bevels on first. You can see there's a kind of ridge there that I don't really like. So let's go back to fillet. I'll go to fillet. And let's put 5 in there and see what it does. It's not really kind of done a massive amount there, so perhaps we'll make that 10. Softened it up a little bit, make it 15 or 20. Let's go 20. That's better. It's much nicer, isn't it? I'm going to select OK on that. That's a much nicer finish there. And perhaps I'll go to the bottom here and we'll round off as well. So I'm just moving it around with the navigation box here. Again, back to modify. Let's go to fillet again. Click on that bottom one again there, and we'll put 15 on that and see what it looks like. That's a nice rounded shape. So there. Cool. I'm going to click OK. So we can very easily hollow this out now, I think. So why don't we do just that? Modify and shell. Base at the top here. I'm going to type in, say, 3 millimeters, so it's nice and thick. Click OK, and again we've got our top, which is quite sharp. So very quickly, I'm just going to go back to fillet, select the outside and the inside there. I'm going to put in 1, and there you have a nice rounded edge. I'm talking quite quickly here because I'm conscious I'm kind of running out of time, so I want to put a handle in. Now, this is the reason why we have to design around those axes, the X, Y, and Z axis. If I put my axis back on, and I think it should be up here, some origin. There they are at the bottom. I know my axis is around the center of my design there. So if I go now, turn that off again, to new sketch, create a new sketch here, I'm actually going to choose the same flat plane that I drew my drawing on, and I'm going to simply draw a line, the same kind of line as we had before. It's going to go all the way through, and I'm going to draw the shape of a handle. again, going all the way through, like so. Click OK at the end of it. And of course, I can hide the body, so I can just see my sketch there. What I'd like to do is take that sketch, and I think what I'd like to do is offset it. I'm going to highlight it there, and up here, it's offset. But I can also go to Modify or Create, and there'll be an offset there somewhere, I'm sure, to try and find, probably Modify. There it is, Offset. And the offset is going to be something like, it's 5.2 there. So I'm going to call it 5 millimeters. I'm going to click OK for that offset. And what I need to do now, of course, is join these two up. So I'm going to click Line, zoom in there, and it should click onto the end to the end. And when I click this one, it should go blue, shouldn't it? And there it is, it's turned blue. That's great. I can finish my sketch. And we also know if I bring my body back in again, and we turn this around, if I highlight the middle part of that, I can extrude it, can't I? But if we extrude it in both ways, it should be dead center. So extrude, but instead of one way, I'm actually going to go symmetrical and extrude it out. Okay, and we'll make it, let's see what that looks like. That's 6 millimeters. I think a little bit wider even. Let's make it 8 millimeters. That's 80, that's wrong. So I'm going to put a little dot in there. That's 8 millimeters. And what I want to do is create a new body. There. So I clicked OK, and we've just essentially made the body from our sketch. Click OK, and there's our body. Now, very, very quickly now, because I think we're running out of time, I'm going to put a little bevel on that, modify, fillet. Let's select the top one, that one as well. That's actually wrong. I've just got that's it. 2 edges. I'm going to take the top edge there and the bottom edge there, and let's key into all the way around. That's a nice rounded handle there. Now I've got 2 bodies here. What I can do with this is split. Let's have a look at our bodies. This is one body, or rather 2, and this is 1. I can actually choose to split this handle with this body. I can join them together, or I can use them to split. So what I'm going to do is go to Modify, because it is in that Modify area. And I think it's in Combine or Split Body. There it is, Split Body. So it's asking, what's the body to split? Well, we know it's body 2. So I'm going to highlight body 2. And now the splitting tool, I'm going to choose body 1. Okay. And then I'm going to click OK and hope that that's worked. Now we've got lots of different bodies here. We've got body 6, which is our handle. And then as we go in, see what we've got here. Body 5 is the bottom part, so I can hide that. Body 4 is the top part, so I can hide that. And then we've got the other parts there, we can bring that in. You can actually see that. That's actually in the center part of it. We don't actually need that either. And then the center part of that, if you don't need as well. All we need actually is that part and that part. So there we have our coffee mug, which we can now combine. So this one here, this one here, I can combine into one. What we might have to do though is perhaps delete those. But if we go to combine first, target body is going to be body 1. Our tool body, I think, is going to be body 6. That's great. And join. Okay. And there we have it. Just one body, which is one object, which we can now send to our 3D printer. We can go to right click on it, save as STL, and click OK. And we're going to call it cut to, let's say, onto the desktop. And at the moment, I think we're heading towards, we finished our time really, but this is what I wanted to do really. I wanted to show you very, very quickly, if it's possible, I hope we're all right for time. I want to go into render very, very quickly, just to show how easy it is to choose a material for our coffee cup. Doesn't matter what material we choose. I'm actually going to go for metal. I'm going to go for, let's say, brass. There's a matte brass there, and I can put it on there. And you can see how easy it is, can't you, to add materials. We can also change our environment, our lighting, and we can put a background in as well. But I think we've run out of time really for me to go any further than that. We've just hit 7 o'clock.